Hello, my darlings, and welcome to 24 Days of Advent Adventure. Goodness me, we've got to day 14. Wow, can you believe it? 10 more days. 10 more days to Christmas Eve. Can we do it? I'm sure we can. We're going back in time, my darlings. We're going back to the year 1993 and mysterious Christmas tales. And this one's an absolute corker. It's called Stocking Filler by Gillian. Now, back in 1993, I was 17 years old. Long time ago. Feels it. Oh, it feels it today. Anyway, going back to 31 years, we are going to meet two of the most obnoxious kiddos that you have ever met in your life. Imogen and Paul. They are the spoilt brats. Oh, the spoilt brats that legends are made of. That year, their mother has been abandoned by their father and he's gone off to live in Abu Dhabi. Yeah. She got divorced and remarried a wonderful man called Henry, who has a little girl called Becky. Now, Henry's wife, Becky's mother, had died the year before. So this is what you call a blended family. And back in 1993, we were just starting to get our heads around that situation. I mean, my parents divorced in the 90s. It seemed to be the time. An awful lot of divorces happened in the 90s. Or it just felt like that because, I was part and parcel of it. Strange times. Anyway, without further ado, I'll tell you about Stocking Filler. This blended family, Becky is the sweetest little nugget you ever did see, and she's also a very tiny little girl. She's not very old. She's not even 10. I'd put her around about the age of 7, so she still believes in Santa. Imogen and Paul are older and spoilt beyond measure. Paul is raging at one point in this story. Apparently, they're going to have to rough and tumble it this Christmas. There isn't a lot of money to go around, and Henry doesn't have the best job in the world and can't afford many things. But goodness me, children, he can afford to put a roof over your heads and food on the table. But children being children, especially spoilt ones, don't see that. All they think about are glittery bows and gifts. Oh, my. They've got a rude awakening coming, these two. Yeah. Paul is raged because they can't have the best Christmas. Paul is absolutely fuming when he finds out that they can't go to the opera. Excuse me. What child kicks off a fuss about not being able to go to the opera? Am I living in another world? Paul, what's wrong with the pantomime, Paul? Pantomimes are ace. Pantomime, if you don't know what a pantomime is, they're what Christmas legends are made of. And Paul, I don't know why you can't possibly go to the pantomime. I mean, what's the opera? Yeah, very nice to have, but not a need to, is it, love? Henry, getting more and more exasperated with Imogen and Paul, has turned round and said, well, maybe this year we won't have Christmas stockings and we're just not going to bother with gifts because things are really, really tight. And Imogen thinks, I am not having this. And she convinces Paul, who is, well, let's face it, Paul didn't take much convincing, that they're going to get Becky to write the ultimate Christmas list with everything that she wanted, which is a kitten charm necklace, a new doll, and some pink writing paper. That's all she wanted for Christmas. But Imogen, being a manipulative, conniving little so-and-so, says, "Oh, Becky, no, no, no. Why not write a bigger, longer list?" And she starts putting all these lavish gifts on and convinces them to give it to her mother and Henry. And they're sat in the front room and they're listening to the conversation between the mother and Henry. And the mother goes, "I won't have your darling Becky turn out as spiteful and as horrible as Imogen and Paul. They are so spoiled." She goes, it's not good, and I don't want Becky turning out the same way. So we're not going to bother with this Christmas list or presents this year. We're just not going to bother with Christmas stockings. And it was a joint decision. And they turned around and told the kids that they weren't going to be having any Christmas stockings. Well, Imogen and Paul are in an absolute stinking rage. And the Imogen, she's so sly. She manages to convince Becky that the only way that Santa's ever going to see her now that her letter hasn't gone off to Santa is that she stands on the roof of their house on Christmas Eve and, waves to Santa and manages to flag him down for some presents. Well, she said it as a throwaway comment, but Becky, being so impressionable and so gullible, believed Imogen and somehow manages to get onto the roof of the house on Christmas Eve. And that's when holy hell breaks loose. Oh my goodness me. Everything that could possibly go wrong does. And the ending, my darlings, is not what you would expect it to be. But let's put it this way. Imogen and Paul are going to get the best gift that money can't buy. A lesson in humility. And what goes around comes around. And karma, oh my, karma, yes, that's a beautiful thing when it's dished out to the right people. Careful what you wish for, kids. You might just get it. True to form, I'm going to read you a little bit. Imogen knew Henry was going to be mean. It was the first Christmas since he'd married their mother, and any normal man would have wanted to make things extra special for her and Paul. He should have been offering them trips to exciting places and new clothes and thousands of presents. But there was no sign of anything like that. He hadn't even left catalogues around the house or asked them for Christmas lists the way their own father did. Imogen tried hinting, but Henry just grinned. "We like surprises best, don't we, Becky? And you and Paul will like them too, Imo, when you get used to them." What a nice guy Henry is. Becky chuckled like a little idiot and snuggled into her father's jumper. Imogen felt like screaming. What was the use of a surprise if it wasn't what you wanted? But she managed to keep her temper just about, until Henry brought the Christmas tree home. He carried it in over his shoulder, and Becky squealed with delight. Well, all children love a Christmas tree. Hasten to add, all adults like a Christmas tree too. Just saying. "Can I help you with the decorations, Daddy? Please, you promised." Henry grinned and dumped the tree into a bucket. "Don't see why not. Maybe Imogen and Paul would like to join in too. How about it, Imo?" Imogen tossed her head. "I always do the Christmas tree every year. My dad says I've got better taste than most adults he knows." Imogen and I can do it together, Becky said, bouncing up and down. I'll go get the things. She raced off to the cupboard under the stairs and came back with a large battered cardboard box. There! She dumped it triumphantly on the carpet. Imogen looked down at the box. What's that? The Christmas decorations! Look! Becky flung the lid back and began to scoop them out. Here's the star that Mummy made, and my angel from nursery, and the tinsel from when I was a fairy in the play last year. Imogen shuddered. You're going to put old decorations on the tree? I... Becky looked up, her smile faltered. We always have these. Henry put a hand on her shoulder. I expect Imogen and Paul have got their own decorations, Spicky. It would be nice to have a mixture, wouldn't it? He gave Imogen a hopeful smile, but she snorted scornfully. We haven't got any old decorations. We always buy new ones every year, and Dad always lets me choose. This year I want it all pink and silver. But Henry was speechless, and Becky looked horrified. Pink? Glass baubles? Imogen said briskly. And loads of silver tinsel. I've seen a set of little pink lights like candles in silver holders. 2 sets would be just right for this tree. And Morris's have got some wonderful pink cherubs with silver wings. We could have 20 of those, and I'll make a pink and silver angel to go on top of the tree. Becky's bottom lip wobbled. But, what about Mummy's star? We always have that on top of the tree. Imogen shrugged coldly. It's the wrong colour, isn't it? Look at those red and green bits. Big tears began to glisten in Becky's eyes, and she screwed her hands into fists. Henry put one arm around her and one arm around Imogen. Listen, Imo. Imogen, said Imogen sharply. Imogen, I can see you're good at choosing tree decorations, but we can't afford to buy new ones every year. 20 cherubs and 2 sets of lights would cost, well, I can't begin to guess. Suppose I buy you just 1 cherub, if you're really set on them. 1 cherub is of no use at all. Furiously, Imogen wriggled out of his arm and stamped off into the kitchen. Her mother was standing in front of the Christmas cake, holding an icing bag, and Paul was facing her across the table, his face bright red. Imogen marched straight in and banged her hand down on the cake board. Henry says we can't have a proper Christmas tree this year. We've got to use some measly old decorations out of a cardboard box. Ha! That's nothing, Paul said fiercely, before their mother could answer. Mum says we can't afford an opera for our Christmas treat. We've got to go to the pantomime. Pantomime? Imogen sat down suddenly. But we can't. Dad always took us to the opera. Their mother let go of her icing bag and sat down opposite Imogen. Look, you know how things are. I explained it all before Henry and I got married. There isn't endless money anymore. We just have to have different kinds of fun. Imogen scowled, like having Becky's mum's tatty star on top of the Christmas tree. Their mother looked severe. Emily made the star just before she died. Becky needs to have it on top of the tree. Yuck! Paul pulled a face. Who wants to think about dead people at Christmas? They're not here. Your father's not here either, their mother said quietly. Don't you? She hesitated. Don't you think about him? What for? Imogen kicked at the table leg. He didn't even bother to come home from Abu Dhabi last Christmas. And he's taking Cordelia to Paris, so we won't see him this year either. I bet they go to the opera, said Paul gloomily. I'm going to phone up and ask him to send some tickets. I'll say Henry's too poor to do Christmas properly. These children. No, you won't. Their mother turned pink. Henry can't help it if he... Her voice faltered and she looked up. Imogen swivelled round and saw Becky standing in the doorway. She looked as if she was going to explode. I don't care if my daddy doesn't earn much money, she said fiercely. At least he didn't go off and leave me like your daddy did. Yeah, go in there. Get in there, Becky. Go on, sir. Go on, my love. She rushed out of the room. For a second, Paul and Imogen thought their mother was going to rush after her, but she didn't. Instead, she glared at them. Look what you've done now. You're not to spoil Becky's Christmas. She's only 7, and it all means a lot to her. Be nice. What about our Christmas? Paul began. But Imogen had an idea. She nudged him. Don't worry, Mummy, she purred. We'll be very, very nice. Come on, Paul. And that's when evil little Imogen first gets her lesson in karma, but she doesn't know it yet. And for you, Paul, for being as ruthless as your sister, you deserve all that's coming to you as well. Remember, kids, all that glitters isn't gold. That, my darlings, is where I'll leave it. I'm absolutely sure you'll want to read what happens to Imogen and Paul. They get their just desserts. And I think it's a Christmas none of the family is ever going to forget. Well, everyone, that was day 14. 10 days to go. What will we have next? Who knows? Anyway, my darlings, if you like that, you can give me a thumbs up. If you really like what I do, you can always give me a follow. And come back for day 15, because I have no idea what I'm going to bring you, but it'll be something fun. Take care, my darlings. Bye-bye.